Welcome back to Trekking and Politics, folks. So, the last video I did was a little weird. I admit it was. This is about how a random trip to a shop can destroy an owner operator. So, let's get on. This video is going to be mainly this, just me here talking to you. I'm sorry if you don't like that type of video. If you want a more hands-on approach, walking around the truck and getting under the truck and looking at parts and all of that, I may add some of that in to it to break this video up, because I know it gets monotonous just sitting here watching me talk. Here's the thing. I will put it up here if I can. I will put it up here and show you. Today was 95 degrees in Arkansas. Humidity is high. It has been raining the last couple of weeks. Now we're getting into summer. Let's get into this video. So, this all started with a trip to my local Kenworth dealership. Actually, this didn't have anything to do with the start of my problems, but later on in the video, it will come back. So I wanted to add that in. So, started out with a trip to the Kenworth dealership, and my truck was having symptoms of hard starts. It was smoking. It was starting to get bad fuel mileage. I had changed the fuel filter on it. I didn't see any visible leaks in the fuel system. So, knowing what I know, that pointed to bad fuel injectors or bad O-rings in the fuel injectors. Something of that nature. The truck has over 1 million miles on it. Don't know if they have ever been changed or when they were changed. I bought the truck used, so therefore, let's get the injectors fixed. Kenworth agreed that was more than likely the problem, so let's do the injectors. We bought what is called a 6-pack. Self-explanatory, 6 injectors. All 6 injectors, they come in a kit. They were Caterpillar rebuilt injectors. I've had issues, or not had any issues with them in the past. I've used them before. They're rebuilt, like I said, and they are what they are. I've heard through the grapevine that the quality has really went down since this time that I was talking about. This was about 2 years ago, roughly. And anyway, we went ahead and got those replaced, put them in the truck, took off, seemed to fix my problems. Okay, now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. I was going to a receiver down in Searcy, Arkansas. If you know that area, there's a big Walmart and Sam's Club distribution center there. There's a big Love's truck stop there. It's Searcy, Arkansas. So, was delivering there. I was not delivering to Walmart. I was delivering to another receiver there. And noticed oil on the ground. And it was a bad oil leak. And first thing I thought of was maybe something happened with the injectors. They didn't get the valve covers on correctly, didn't tighten them down, something like that. Got out and got to looking, got to checking, and it was dripping between where the transmission and the engine bolts together. The bell housing, as they call it, of the transmission. So I thought, okay, we've got a rear main seal out, which would have zero, I wouldn't say zero, but 99.9% chance that it would have nothing to do with the injectors. So I started calling around. I called Kenworth and they said, we're backed up. We've just got flooded with trucks. It's going to be a while before we can get you in. I called the company that I work for. They were in the process of building a shop, which, keep in mind, that's going to rear its ugly head, and that's probably going to be my next video, or the very next video after that, is to do a review on this trucking company that I was leased to, because it added to the demise of me being an owner-operator myself as well. So, with that being said, they didn't have anything to do to help me. The trucking company, Kenworth, was backed up. I had to sit and think, do I want to get this repair done? Do I want to postpone it? I've got a choice here. I had just gotten out of the shop getting injectors put in. That was expensive. I didn't just replace one. Like I said, I replaced all 6, and was down a little bit of money, but I had been making good money. Rates were up, and called the trucking company, discussed everything, and I said, you know what, I just want to get this truck fixed. I don't want to run it with more issues, so I want to put it in the shop and get it fixed. And they were like, that's fine. Find you a shop and get your truck repaired. So I started calling around, and I went to this shop right here, talked to them. I had used the shop before. Like I said in one of my previous videos, I live in an area where there's not an abundance of independent shops. Most people do their repairs themselves around here, or they have a buddy that has a shop somewhere on County Road so-and-so. You only hear about them by word of mouth. I don't really spend that much time in Arkansas, even though I live here. I'm a truck driver. I'm out on the road. I don't have all these connections and stuff. So, with that being said, I called this shop, like I said, because I have used them before. They seem like a decent shop. As far as I know, they're still in business. As far as I know, they're still doing shady work. Put it that way. Anyway, let's get on with it. I called him up, the owner called him up, and I said, hey, the rear main seal's leaking in my truck. I'm 99% sure. Okay. And I said, are you available to get me in? Yeah. Actually, we don't have anybody waiting right now, which is kind of a red flag. Like I've said before here, if it's a good shop in this area, they're swamped. I mean, that may be a southern term here, is being swamped, but that means they are covered up. They have way more work than what they have workers to get the job done. To have a shop that is just wide open and bring it right in, there's red flags, waving up here. Why are you open, wide open like this? So anyway, I just blew it off. I'd used the guy before, and he seemed like he was a decent guy and everything. And went back, and I said, I'll drop my truck off at such and such date, and we'll get it done. And he said, cool, okay, great. So we kind of agreed on a price. What I was wanting to do was get a new rebuilt transmission, a new clutch, and to replace the rear main seal. I said, let's just knock it all out. You have to pull the clutch anyway. It's covered with oil. So let's just throw it out there and knock it out, and let's go. I gave him the model number of my transmission. He ordered one, had it sitting in his shop. I pulled in out there, and boom, like that, they went to work on it. Got the truck back, and this company that I was leased to has a deal. I don't know if they still do. I'm sure they still do. Have a deal that you have to have your truck inspected every 3 months. DOT, full inspection, and they want it done at Love's. So anyway, I was at Love's getting my truck inspected, and the mechanic come out and said, "Hey, buddy, you got a bad oil leak," which I was like, "Oh, great, here we go." I said, "What wheel seal is it?" And he said, "It's not a wheel seal." And I was like, "Whoa, what? It's not a wheel seal. I don't have any leaks on my truck." And he said, "Afraid you do. It's leaking between the transmission and the engine. I think your transmission is leaking." And I said, "That's just residual oil because I just had my rear main replaced." And he said, "No, it's leaking." And my heart just sunk. And I said, "Can I go look at it?" And he said, "Sure." He handed me a shop rag. I wiped it off, and it just started forming and dripping again. It was an active leak. And I thought, great. So I called the mechanic up, the shop owner. I talked to him. Very sarcastic on the phone. Wanted to fight with me from the second that he answered the phone. Well, what'd you do to it? How could I do something to it? Running it low on oil, running at 100 miles an hour, running your oil pressure real high. There's a lot of things you can do to cause it to blow out. It's not on us. And I said, "Look, I don't want to fight. I want my truck fixed, and it's leaking." And I said, "I'm not doing any of those things. It's only been out of your shop for like a week." So I want to add in here, I know what everyone is probably going to say later on in this video or towards the middle or something, is I would have sued that shop's butt off. Well, yeah, easier said than done. I contacted many attorneys. Lots of attorneys wouldn't take the case. They don't handle that type of cases. The attorneys that I did find that would take the case said, more than likely you'll win. You have the proof. You have everything well documented. Everything is going to go your favor if you go to court. Problem is collecting. What the shop probably will say is, we have employees, we have a payroll that we have to meet, we have shop rent or a mortgage payment or something, of that nature. Profits are down, and more than likely they won't have to prove it. It will just be a word of mouth thing. And in the end, all you will get is maybe a judgment. Now, collecting on that judgment, you will have to go back to court again. And that's just the way our justice system works. The same way it was with the rental house, the way the lady tore the rental house up, I was in the same position. Same thing with this truck, same thing with the rental house. You will get a judgment. You will win. We won in court when we took the lady to court over the rental property. We won on that. We collected zero. We have to go back to court again, and we have to collect on the judgment. That will cost another $3,000 or $4,000 to go back to court again. And these people are just going to weasel their way out of it, come up with every excuse possible. The most you will get is a garnishment of maybe $25 to $50 a month. That's probably all you'll get. That's what the attorney told me on this repair deal with the truck. It's the same thing they told me on the rental house. You'll end up spending, $5,000 to $10,000 on top of what you've lost, in the repairs and everything. And in the end, you'll collect $25, $50 a month. It is a lapse of judgment in the Justice Department to where individuals are not treated fairly. I mean, that's basically what it is. It's not blind justice, it's profiteering, is what it is. So I did look into it. I decided that suing was not my best option, and I wouldn't have really, quote unquote, won anyway. I mean, even if I won, what did I win? $25, $50 a month. So that's why I did not sue. So to answer your question about, or to settle that right now, let's get on with the video. And got done with my run. I went to go drop it off, and it just sat for 3 weeks. Didn't hear anything. Just sat. So I called him up, and he was like, I was waiting on you to tell me what to do. And I said, wait, you haven't even started working on my truck? Oh, yeah. I mean, we've got it in here, but what do you want us to do? And I said, I want the rear main seal fixed. Well, we already fixed that. Did you look to see if it was leaking? Yeah. Looks like it's leaking again. What do you want us to do? Well, I want you to fix the truck. Well, we did fix the truck, and it failed. I mean, that doesn't happen. You put a rear main seal in, they go in, you fix it. I mean, if it's going to leak, putting another one in, it's going to leak again the same way. I mean, there's nothing that we did that caused this. So what do you want us to do? And I said, put another rear main seal in it. Okay, if that's what you want us to do. Now in hindsight, this is something I want to say. In hindsight, there's a phrase that says, in hindsight, your vision is 20/20. You can see clearly what's going on once you get out and look back, just like my last video I put out there. The spirit possession. I didn't realize what was going on while it was going on. When I got out and looked back on it, that's when I had this moment, going back to this truck and the repair. At that moment, I didn't know what this mechanic was doing. Now in hindsight, I look back, knowing all the information I know that he did not know what he was doing either. At this time, I thought he was just being argumentative and not wanting to do a warranty thing here. I didn't know that he didn't know what was going on. This is where you find the difference between good mechanics and bad. Let me explain. Once we got in there, the second time in the shop, I went out there to check on it one day. There was a new transmission sitting in the floor. And I made a comment, oh, you're doing another transmission. And he said, nope, that's yours. And I said, you just ordered a transmission, and I just had a new transmission put in my truck. Right. This time we're not taking any, we're being cautious, and we're not skimming on anything. Everything is getting replaced. And I said, you're going to put another transmission in the truck, and the other one's only a week old. Yep. It's under warranty. We don't have to pay for it. We don't have to pay for shipping or anything. So let's put another transmission in it. And I said, sir, I would really wish you would not do that. Well, we're going to. And I said, okay. What about the clutch? The clutch is fine. It's got a little oil on it, but it's only been in there a week. We'll spray it off with brake cleaner and throw it back in. It'll be fine. And I said, I would rather you fix the clutch than the transmission. Well, we're not going to do that. Now, here is a point again where I could have just stopped. He had the transmission pulled out of the truck, and I could have just stopped and said, we're not going any farther. At that point, I would have had to call a tow truck, load the transmission up in the back of my pickup truck, and took it somewhere else. A lot of shops out there, if you don't know, once a shop starts on a truck, a lot of shops will not finish work that another shop started. They don't want to be involved in that. They don't want to touch that. I could not finish the work myself. I didn't have the tools, the equipment, the help, the knowledge. I didn't have all that. So I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. It was either just drop everything, end the lease with the company that I was with, pull my truck out of the shop, pull the transmission and throw it in the back of the truck and go on home and just call it and be done. Or I could have continued to work with this shop and did the best that I could do until another day came up. That was the lesser of the evils here, in my opinion. Now, you can put down in the comments what you would have done different and how all this would have worked out different for you. If that's the way you want to be with it, then feel free and go down and just blast me out of the comments, okay? But like I said, there's very limited shops around here. Kenworth was backed up. I think they told me they were 3 months backed up. The other shops, I don't know who I could have went to that did transmission work. I couldn't have done it myself. I was just stuck. I was just here where I was at. So I said, just do whatever you do. Okay. And he put the rear main seal in it, cleaned the clutch off, threw it back in, swapped the transmission out with a new transmission, threw it out the door. As soon as he did, I got into the truck, went up to Missouri to deliver a load. Now, granted, I have been off now probably 3 or 4 weeks at this point. The trucking company I was leased to was getting very antsy and very angry at me. They were calling me constantly. When are you getting your truck? When are you getting your truck? When are you getting back on the road? We don't have time to wait around on you. We don't have time to wait for this kind of stuff. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I didn't have any control over it, you know. So anyway, got up to Missouri. Noticed the temperature on the truck was running hot. Backed into a parking spot. Got out with my flashlight. I smelled antifreeze. Got under the truck. And I worked on this truck all night long, replacing water hoses and screw-in tighteners, hose clamps. He had left everything loose on the truck, had cut some of the hoses too short, didn't replace hoses, very shoddy work, and it blew out. I was lucky I even made it to Missouri, blew out all my antifreeze out of the truck. So all night long, I was under the truck working, getting all this stuff done. When the truck stop opened the next morning, I went in and bought some antifreeze. Anyway, got back in the truck that morning and took off. After working on it all night and doing repairs and everything, I didn't notice the rear main seal leaking at that point. I thought I was good. And anyway, I went to go pick up a load, and I delivered that load that I was on, went to go pick up another load, delivered it. At some point, I noticed that it started leaking oil again. Same place. The rear main had blown out again. Anyway, regardless of that in hindsight, that's where I should have stopped and didn't take it back to this shop. That is where I should have stopped. But anyway, I went into another Love's. I was just kind of feeling out, looking for answers, you know, and I went into a Love's shop and talked to them. And I said, can I talk to your mechanic? Maybe he has a little bit of experience and knowledge and everything. Kind of bounce some ideas off of them. I don't do internal engine work. I don't do transmissions. I don't do clutches. I don't do the heavy stuff, rear ends. I don't do that. I do light work. About the kind of stuff that Love's would do, that's what I would do. Air leaks, fittings, electrical, stuff like that. I have got extensive knowledge in stuff like that. When it comes to, internal stuff like this, I don't know. I mean, I'm still learning. 24 years on the road, and I'm still learning. So, and I don't have a lot of hands-on experience with tearing engines down or transmissions or whatever. But anyway, I went into this Love's and was talking to them, and they were just like, we don't do that kind of work. We can look at it, and give our thoughts on it and everything, but we can't really go any more into it. If it's engine issues, we don't do that. And I said, sure, right. And he said, you want us to look at it? And I said, nah. I know what it's doing. The rear main seal's leaking, and it's been repaired twice now, and it's leaking for the third time. So it is what it is. Let me decide what I'm going to do, and I'm sorry to bother you. So I was walking out the door. I heard a guy yell, hey. And I was turned around, and it was a mechanic. He said, come here. And he was at the side of the building smoking a cigarette, standing there talking to him. And he said, I know what most people's opinion of Love's is. We're high school dropouts, or mechanic shop won't hire us, so we have to go to work for Love's, whatever. And I said, man, I don't really have any opinions. I said, I'm just trying to get my truck fixed. I mean, I'm not here to argue and fight, I'm just a guy out here trying to make a buck. And he said, if you'll listen to me, I'll tell you what's wrong with your truck. And I said, I'm all ears. Let's go. And he said, it's going to sound weird. And I said, let's go. He said, your front main seal's leaking too, right? And I said, well, it's leaking from the front of the engine somewhere. And he said, down low by the bottom of the radiator? And I said, probably, somewhere like that. And he said, you need new rod and main bearings. And it just like shocked me, and I was like, huh? Come again? And he was like, you need new rod and main bearings. Specifically, not really rod and main bearings, but since you're going to be in there anyway, here's what's wrong. There is a thing called a thrust washer, and I'll put a picture up here of it. It's a little copper colored. I don't know if they're made out of copper or some type of material that looks like copper, but they're a little washer, and it goes in your crankshaft, and it keeps it from swaying, back and forth. You have two motions of your crankshaft. You have a revolution that goes around and around with your pistons going up and down. But over time, these thrust washers wear out, and they're like, what do you call it? Getting lost on my words here. They're like a sleeve or whatever. I don't know the exact word that I'm trying to think of. Something to fill a gap, a washer. That's why they're called a thrust washer. They go in there, and they keep your crankshaft from going, this direction. So that's what he said was wrong with my truck. And I said, so that was what was wrong with it from day one. These got wore out to the point where they were going back and forth, and this caused it. I said, why didn't Kenworth catch it when I put the injectors in? it might not have been bad then. And I said, well, it failed like a week after. And he said, maybe it was just time for them to go. And he said, something that I will never forget, you're going to the wrong mechanic. Because any mechanical shop that's worth its weight will know this thrust washer deal. They will know that that is wore out. They can look at your front main. They can look at your rear main. They can get in there and find the play in your crankshaft, and they would have known this from the minute you pulled it in there. This guy is not a good mechanic you're going to. And I said, well, tell me something I don't know. But now that I'm involved in it, what do I do? Because nobody wants to touch it. And he was like, right. I would just take your truck in and have the engine rebuilt. And I said, right. You know, you're talking $35,000. I mean, I have already been off work for weeks. I have already put in injectors. I have already put in a new transmission, a new clutch, a new rear main seal. I have taken off work for that. I have been back to get it done again for the second time and taken off work again. And now it's failed for the third time. Well, let's rebuild the engine. Well, where is that money going to come from? Along with this house deal, like I said, go back and watch my last video. So I was just lost. I said, I don't know. And anyway, against my better wishes, against everything, I called the mechanic up back in Arkansas that had done all these repairs. And I said, look, can we talk? Can we at least get on a level to where we can have, you know, a professional conversation here? Sure. And I said, I just talked to a mechanic, and I lied to him. I just flat out lied. I said, I'm not at Love's this time, which I was. I said, I am at a reputable mechanic shop. I took it in. He diagnosed the repairs. He told me what was wrong. And this is what was wrong from day one. And he was like, okay, I'm listening. Very calm, very collected. We had a very intelligent conversation. And I told him what it was. And he said, you know, that does make sense. I understand. And that's something that we should have caught. And so you're calling me, I guess, because it's failed again. And I said, it has. And he said, you know, that does make sense. He said, now that I'm thinking about it, it does make sense. So you wanting to just talk to me about this, or you wanting us to do the repair work? And I said, here's what I want you to do, if you will do it. And he said, I'm listening. I said, can I bring it in? Can you drop the oil pan? Can you replace the rod and main bearings? Can you replace the thrust washers? If you don't care, can you replace the rear main seal again and put a new clutch in it? And I said, this is probably going to cost me, you know, $10,000, I guess. I don't know. And he kind of gave me a good deal, to be honest. I think it was like $7,000 or $8,000 is what the ended up deal was on it. And went back, had it all redone again. I thought we were good. I thought the truck was good. I thought we finally got to this situation. When I went to drop the truck off, it was like his personality switched like a heartbeat. He was mad. He was angry. He was throwing stuff around the shop. Just very irate and belittling me, and why are you doing this, and why are you bringing it back to me, and why are you pointing fingers at me like I'm a bad shop? And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. What happened to our conversation? What happened to us being on the same page and we're all good? man, there's something you're doing that's causing this. And I said, look, man, I don't want to fight with you. I don't know what kind of issues and problems you're having, but it's not this. Okay, let's just drop this. Let's get the truck fixed. I'll help work on it for free. I will work in your shop for free and help do it. Let's just get the truck up and running. I'm at the risk of losing my house, of losing my job, of having my truck just parked somewhere in a pile of junk. Let's get going. I need to move ahead. And, and he was like, well, we didn't do it. And just yelling and throwing stuff. We didn't cause this. And I said, let's move on. I was trying to take the upper road here, the upper level, higher ground, right? So immediately, I just paid him and got my truck, immediately left. And I got down the road, and the very first thing that I noticed was a really hard, just shuddering vibration. Never heard it in the truck before. I mean, it was just beating the truck to death. Just bam, 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 bam. It sounded just like a U-joint slap or something that was just about to break and come out of the truck. And I just parked on the side of the road and called him up, and I said, man, did you drive this truck? And he said, I don't want to hear nothing from you. And I said, did you drive the truck? Nope. I said, so you just did the work and that's it? Yep. I said, man, this thing is vibrating so hard, it's just beating the dash out of the truck. I said, I'm just right up the road from you. I'm turning around and coming back. And he said, won't do you any good. And I said, seriously, you're going to throw me off like that? I'm done with you. I'm done. I don't know what's wrong with your truck. I don't care what's wrong with it. Take it somewhere else. So here I was with a truck that had this incredibly hard vibration. I mean, just beating the crap out of my truck. Had no idea what to do at this point. So to recap, I had rear main seal, clutch, transmission. Went back to the shop. After that was fixed, had another rear main seal, transmission swapped out again. Went back to the shop again, had the rear main seal and the bottom end of the engine replaced. And now I've got this hard vibration. So in a last desperate attempt to keep my house, to keep the truck, to keep my job, I reached out one last time to the company that I was leased to and told them what's going on. I said, look, here's the deal. And I explained this whole thing to them from start to finish. Don't worry about it. And I said, well, what do you mean don't worry about it? We are about to start a shop up at your place, your company, your trucking company is going to start a shop up. Don't worry about getting your truck repaired. Don't worry about it. Bring it down here. We will get it fixed cheaper than anybody. We will stand behind our work. We will get the job done for you, no matter what it is. And I was like, I don't know if I can drive it with this vibration. Well, do the best you can. What I noticed was if it wasn't loaded heavy, the vibration wasn't so bad. If you wasn't really hitting the accelerator pedal real hard, if you were just easing down on it, it wasn't as bad. Still, it was bad. Still, it was bad vibration, but it wasn't as bad. And I noticed another thing. It was only in the higher gears, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And in 10th gear, the vibration almost went away. It started about 6th or 7th on the high side, 8th, ninth was just incredibly hard vibration. 10th, it almost completely went away unless you really hit the accelerator. So I thought, let's just keep going. Let's keep going, keep doing what we're doing. And I was in constant contact with the company. I was trying to call their shop. They gave me their shop number. I couldn't reach their shop. I thought, they're trying to get everything going, getting their parts and equipment going. So, they're just busy and they won't talk to me right now and everything. Or can't talk to me right now. So anyway, to make this long drawn out story even longer, I took it to Kenworth. I finally broke down, took it to Kenworth and said, look, I just want you to diagnose my truck. I don't want you to repair it. I will pay you to diagnose it. Just tell me what's going on. And I started telling him the symptoms. And right off the bat, the guy said, I know what's wrong with it right now. And I was just like bewildered, I was like, what? Well, I'm going to hook the computer up to it, but I can tell you what's wrong with it. And I said, what? And he said, you got bad injectors. And I said, no. And he was like, yeah. And I said, it can't be. And he said, well, it might not can be, but it is. And I said, it can't be because you just replaced them about a year ago. And he was just like, we did? And I said, yeah, I'll go home and get the receipt. You probably have the receipt in there on your computer. Okay. Let me get the laptop and let's do some diagnosing. We'll figure it out. And sure enough, he started cutting injectors out, revving the engine up, doing a cylinder cutout test, injector cutout test, whatever you call it, and diagnosed it. He called it. He said, I don't think it's one injector. I think it's multiple injectors. And here I was sitting here thinking, running all this stuff through my mind. I mean, it was like circulating in my head like a hurricane. And I thought, how could those injectors go bad that quick? But wait, I got to thinking even more. This truck didn't do it until the last time I pulled it out of that shop. I know what happened. I can't accuse somebody of doing something without proof. But my truck had never had this vibration. Even when it needed injectors, it didn't have a bad vibration in it. I had wore myself out with this shop from start to finish. And now that I get it back, the injectors are bad. Think you know what I'm leading up to here. Somebody, I think, did a switcheroo. Somebody got in and pulled some injectors out and put in another truck. And put some bad injectors in my truck. I was tapped out. I was out of money. Everything was done. I had no way of paying for another set of injectors. I was down to my last couple of $1,000s. All I could do was get back out on the road. And I kept calling my company, telling them what was going on, saying, we've got to get this done. We've got to get this fixed. I'm trying to work as hard as I can. I don't know what to do. I did something that I have never attempted before. I am not a trained mechanic. I've never gone to school. I have learned from YouTube. I have learned from other sources. I've learned from friends of mine talking over and everything. Do you guys know what this tool is? it goes together. It actually goes together. And it has other parts in it. I keep them all in a bag here together. What this is a Caterpillar cylinder, injector, cup. They call it remove the injector unit injector sleeves. Caterpillar injector cup removal tool. And I did it myself. Out here in my driveway during Christmas, and it was sleeting and it was snowing, and I had to buy a tarp to put over my head to keep the cold snow and sleet off of my head and out of the head of the injector, the head of the Caterpillar. I did my injectors myself. Not only did I do the injectors, I did the injector cups, and I did the O-rings together. I did all of it myself out here in the driveway. And I did a bad job. And first trip out, one of the injectors came loose, and I had to be towed in. But I did do the job. I just didn't do it right. So, and I'm not claiming to be a mechanic, and I don't have a mechanic shop. I don't charge people to work on their trucks. I didn't charge myself to work on my own truck. But I thought I did a pretty good job getting all of the injectors in, all of the O-rings in, all of the injector cups in, doing everything myself. And one injector came loose. So I don't think that was a very bad thing. But by then, you know, everything had just fallen apart so bad. Money was just so tight. Everything was just so tight with everything that I had went past the point of no return. And that's where I ended up having to park the truck because I was tapped out. I didn't have any other money to do anything else with the truck. I mean, and it started acting up and having issues again, and that was just the point where I just had to call it. I just had to call it. I had fought and fought and fought with it, fought with shops, fought with every kind of shop there was out here trying to get my truck repaired, even the company I was leased onto. And in the end, it didn't do any good whatsoever. I ended up having to park the truck. So the moral of the story is be careful what shop you take your truck to. Not only be careful what shop you take it to, be careful what mechanic that is in that shop that is working on your truck. Because they could do a lot more harm than they do good. And I guess another moral to the story is, you know, the old saying, you know, if you want something done right, do it yourself. So learn how to be a mechanic. If you're going to be an owner operator, if you're going to be an independent contractor, you better have some tools, you better have some knowledge, or you better have some really, really good mechanics that you can count on day and night to be there for you, because you're going to need it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.